So 911.
So 911. Can I get the call from the ambulance?
What's going on, man?
I don't know. I think somebody's dead or something. He's not moving. Hurry.
Daniel Barone grew up in a good home. He pursued many of the activities enjoyed by the average American child and was loved by his mother and stepfather, a minister. As an adult, however, Daniel became involved in activities that would eventually cost him his life. Winter of 2007 found Daniel living in a rented house from which he was known to sell drugs. On December 15, 2007, the DPD homicide unit was notified that a friend who had stopped by to see him in the house found Daniel shot to death. Dallas homicide detective Kenneth Penrod was assigned to investigate Daniel's murder. Initially, the case yielded very few promising leads. A canvass of the neighborhood for witnesses who could provide information related to Daniel's murder provided no leads. The case went cold for a short period. On January 2, 2008, Detective Penrod received a call from Daniel's mother, Susan Barone. Susie told Detective Penrod she knew who murdered her son. Detective Penrod met with Susie and Daniel's stepfather, Frank Barone. They shared information with Detective Penrod that began with the recent dental appointment of Daniel's stepsister. While at the dentist, the stepsister overheard a dental hygienist discussing a telephone call with her boyfriend received from a female named Callie Marshall. The call involved a murder Marshall was involved in that matched the description of what happened to Daniel. The stepsister asked the hygienist for the name of the boyfriend so she could talk to him about the phone call. The dental hygienist said her boyfriend's name was Jesse Mendoza. Daniel's family went to Jesse Mendoza's residence to determine what he knew about Daniel's murder. Mendoza provided information on Callie Marshall and others he said were involved in Daniel's murder. He showed the family where Marshall and the others lived. Detective Penrod located and interviewed Mendoza after receiving this information from Daniel's family. Mendoza said Marshall called him after Daniel's murder. She was frantic because she only planned to rob him, but the robbery went bad. Marshall asked Mendoza where she could sell some stolen drugs. In the telephone call, Marshall told Mendoza she needed to commit the robbery to get money to bail her boyfriend out of jail. She was angry because she only got $7 in the cash during the robbery along with a minimal amount of drugs. Marshall indicated to Mendoza that someone else shot Daniel during the robbery. After he interviewed Mendoza, Detective Penrod and his partner, Detective Scott Sayers, went to the home of Marshall's mother where Marshall and her children were living. They obtained Marshall's consent to search her vehicle and identified what appeared to be blood in the vehicle. It was later determined to be Daniel's blood. Marshall agreed to go to the DPD homicide unit and talk with Detective Penrod and his partner, Detective Sayers, once they told her they would accommodate supervision of her two young children. Detective Penrod interviewed Marshall upon their arrival at the DPD homicide unit. She confessed to planning the robbery of Daniel's rented home and scoping out the location prior to the robbery. She corroborated information provided by Mendoza regarding her motivation for the robbery, amount of money, and the drugs obtained. Marshall said several males assisted her in the robbery. She identified Omar Richardson as Daniel's killer. All identified parties were quickly arrested with the assistance of the Area U.S. Marshal Task Force on January 5th and 6th, 2008. All individuals involved in the robbery and murder confessed to their respective roles. Omar Richardson confessed to shooting Daniel when interrogated by Detective Penrod. He told Detective Penrod that Callie Marshall directed all activities associated with the robbery and brazenly approached Daniel's house carrying a rifle. He recounted how Marshall stepped over Daniel's body and directed her accomplices to search for drugs and money in the residence. The confessions obtained by Detective Penrod were instrumental in the convictions of Callie Marshall and Omar Richardson, who are now serving life sentences in the Texas Department of Corrections.